All right, welcome to a Illinois recap. And let's start off first by giving big props and shout outs to all the Illinois creators out there, from the people I listen to as far as Sleepers. Their current video, the review for 2 hours, is something definitely to strive for. I also listen to Locked On Illini, and of course with the week that Illinois had and beating Purdue, and Keaton Wagler's performance of 46 points. There was definitely a lot more content to listen to, and I definitely enjoyed it. And with that said, here's my first Illinois recap for the game, of course, against Purdue and the season in general. As again, I'm just kind of getting my feet wet out there, and I'm a huge Illinois fan. So let's see how this video goes. I really have no plan. This is me just kind of freestyling. Uh, what a big win, of course, for Illinois. We did beat Purdue last year, but of course it was at home, and I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure we were just playing to beat them. Of course, we made the tournament, so again, it was still a good win. But this year, of course, this game was a bigger game than that game from last year, and of course, it was in Mackey, and Illinois has just not won in years, I think. Of course, Illinois has had some good teams here in the past and have been competitive, but haven't really been able to beat Purdue in Mackey. So shout out to them for obviously winning this game, for Keaton, uh, for obviously just developing and growing as a player, as a person up to this point. Uh, I'm kind of mad at myself for not making a pregame for that Purdue game. Of course, I was not going to predict the 46 points for Keaton, but I did think he would have a big game, especially after going 1 for 9. Just judging Keaton's character, he is a competitor, so I would have taken that into account and have predicted, of course, a good game for Keaton. Again, not 46 points. And with that being said, you know, what a game. I did get to see it Saturday. I don't get to catch a lot of games. What I end up doing is watching the highlights. Again, just kind of listening to all the content that Illinois people put out, or, just uh, was that field of 68 after dark. I love listening to them. So again, this is kind of my first take on this Illinois team for this season. So I do have their schedule pulled up here. Let me just see if I could add some thoughts. Again, if I did not watch their games, I definitely watched their highlights and listened to all the feedback. But let's go. Let's start with Keaton. I do remember last year just checking out some recruiting videos, and again, everyone knows by now he was not the most coveted recruit. He was the Mr. Basketball of Kansas, however, and he was a two-time state champion. Um, so that's always good in a recruit. I would say, obviously, a winner, right? Two-time state champion. Even if you're not the player carrying your team, I mean, it still builds winning, of course. I remember seeing some footage of Keaton, but I couldn't per se that he was the one carrying his team, but I think I assumed that he was the playmaker, of course. Um, his size, of course, was very intriguing as far as a recruit. But I have to admit, I did think that Brandon Lee was going to have a more impact. I don't know why he was Mr. State of his, or Mr. Basketball of his state as well too. And I remember watching a highlight reel of his team playing against AJ. I might mess up his last name, but Devons or something. Obviously, number one or top three NBA projected pick for next year. But it was a nice little. I don't know if AJ took it as head to head. It was probably more of a team versus team. But Brandon Lee held his own defensively. Obviously, he didn't stop him. They both went for over 30, I think. But Brandon Lee definitely showcased his scoring ability there. And then you start hearing about not so much his scoring ability in training camp or whatnot, but more of his defense capabilities is how he might earn playing time. And of course, everyone at that point was already raving about Keaton. Um, so Illinois season started with some butt whoopings of their opponent, Jackson State. They beat him by over 50, and then they beat FGCU. Again, I just have their schedule on the side here. They beat him by it looks like over 40, and then the big game. I did get a chance to see this one against Texas Tech, in which they won by 4. It was in Champaign, so give Texas Tech credit there because they actually had the game. They were in the game. JT Toppin was just going off, and and for Illinois, Andre had the big game, of course, and everyone else just did kind of their part. And I remember they put Boswell on JT Toppin, and it didn't stop him, but it definitely threw a curveball at him, and kind of confused them a little. And Illinois did pull that win out. That was a big win, and especially looking at how Texas Tech has played now. Then they beat Colgate, and then the Alabama game came in. Here in Chicago, neutral site, Illinois, they were going back and forth. They're both offensive caliber teams, and Illinois kind of you got the sense if you were watching the game like I did, with like 5 minutes left, they definitely started to let the games slip away. So that was the first L for Illinois. And then they had a couple off bye weeks. They beat Long Island, and then they beat Rio Grande. And then the big matchup came rematch in New York against UConn, and Illinois did not show up for that one, let's say, or UConn just uh, beat them. And then December starts, and Illinois beats Tennessee, and a pretty good team balance win, I would say. And then here's where the Keaton movement kind of starts going, where he had a really good game at Ohio State on the road. That was a good win. And then Nebraska comes to town, and I'm a Illini fan first, Big Ten fan second. So of course, I like everyone else was thinking Illinois was going to beat Nebraska. And to their credit, they did make a game out of it. Tied it with like less than a minute to go, or actually less than 30 seconds to go, if I could recall correctly. And shout out to Nebraska because they hit the three to win it. And the only good thing going for me was that I was at work. So I can only imagine if I was at home, that probably would have rubbed me the wrong way. That just the way to lose. But I guess after thinking it over again, Nebraska just played great that game. They came in with that desire to get a win against a team um, at their home, and they were ranked 13th at the time. So that was a good win. Looking back at it, it wasn't that bad of a loss for Illinois. But now they have the rematch coming up, of course, so that's definitely got to be some payback. And they bounce back nicely. Depends on how you look at it. They beat the heck out of Missouri. Of course, everyone thought Missouri was down, but I think they're kind of savage in their season now. And then they beat Southern, and that takes us into January. And they get a good road win. Again, at this point, I think you didn't know what to think of Illinois. Even as a fan, obviously you root for them to win every game. But in the past, the Big Ten's always been pretty tough to win on the road, and that was a good win at Penn State. And then they come home and they beat Rutgers. And then another test came up on the road against Iowa, which I think a lot of people were picking Iowa to win because they were at home and they were having a good season as well. I think they lost the game before at Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. They could have been looking ahead, knowing they have a big home game against Illinois. And 6 point win for Illinois. And then they go to Northwestern, which a place where again they just, for whatever reason, have been dropping games, and they pulled that one out. Then they have Minnesota at home, which everyone at this point knows Minnesota is a tough game. Illinois does win. And then last year, oh my, Maryland just, they were just our bully. And Illinois this year was able to get the win. Of course, Maryland's not the same team. And then the big game came here. And of course, we received the news that Kylan Boswell is hurt. Something with his hand, of course. And it couldn't have come at a worse time in the moment, But I guess, if anything, that gave Illinois, at least I would think as a fan, uh, kind of, what's the term? An excuse? Like, hey, we go into Mackey, and as long as we make it a game, we're down our, you could say your leader, your best player. That's an excuse, right? Now, as an Illini fan, the season has been leading into what happened at Purdue, in my humble opinion, where you are looking for Keaton to, you know, kind of become the team leader, the alpha. He finally did in the game what I was hoping to see, as far as uh, even if he's not the best player, we kind of need a player that is not going to let the team lose. Um, of course, last year, I liked KJ. I know that he was turnover prone, um, but obviously, with the game on the line, he was gonna take that step back three. Or, he had a couple games where he did drive it and he got fouled, and, that was a roller coaster again because at the free throw, he was 50-50, it seemed like. Maybe the game moment got to him, but again, this goes back to Keaton earning Big Time Player of the Week. And of course, which is kind of weird because I've seen him not do this, but he did also win the Freshman of the Week, for what that matters. He gets two awards, I guess. And Illinois moved up to number 9, which again they were number 8 when they lost to Alabama. So I think number 8's the highest they've been ranked this year. But again, that Purdue game, it started out rough from what I can recall, and just going off the top of my head. As a fan, again, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing. I'm just a fan of the Illinois men's basketball team, and their football team is turning it around too. But yeah, it started out pretty rough. I think they were down 8 or 10 points, and Keaton obviously made some shots to kind of keep us in a game. He I know Purdue says he hit some tough shots, but Keaton, I feel like, has been known as a shooter, so he shot again. Of course, here in his press conference, and Brad, they always speak very highly of Keaton, as far as he's always going to make that right decision. So you go into halftime and you're only down four, and of course Keaton has like 22 or 24 points. So you're thinking, hey, if some of these other guys, start making some shots or something, Illinois got a chance to win it. Uh, I can humbly say I went into the game obviously looking for Illinois to win, but the big question is how. I think realistically, you're thinking the only way Illinois can win is they're not going to shut down Purdue in Mackey. So they got to make threes. And I think the final was they did make like 18 of them or something. Of course, Keaton made nine. Second half comes and, Keaton keeps it up, of course, as far as scoring. Uh, when Brain went down, I can't say I was happy because now, of course, you got this big game from Keaton. And then Brain goes down, and now you're like, well, now Illinois has to win this because, they're down their best player. So you have to win this game. And of course, if they lose now, that kind of Brain went down, you lose. Keaton had a big game. It's just not looking good. Of course, that didn't take too long, a couple minutes, and Brain was back in. Uh, so now you're like, it's game on, and back and forth, and I think it came a point where Purdue got out ahead by like 6 points, and I'm thinking, well, we gave it a game, right? But then I forget that if you've been following Illinois for the last couple of games, they've had either against them or for them, they had that hole where the player gets, uh, I don't even know what they call it right off the top of my head, but Tommy got the call this time for in favor of Illinois, and he of course made one free throw, missed the other, but they got the ball, and then I think he made a three. So I think seeing that free throw go in, of course, helped him be able to make the three, and then of course you see it. Keaton was tired. He was tired, and now you're like, there goes the hot hand. But he made the right plays, as everyone said. And as far as just passing, and then if you've been following Illinois, the bigs, they'll make their threes, and they did. And next thing you know, Illinois pulls out the win in Mackey, and of course, nothing but praise has been given to them, and Keaton, of course. So now it'll be exciting to see because it's a big week for the Big Ten. Actually, let's pull up the schedule real quick. Today's game, Duke won. Yeah, Louisville. I don't know. Of course, I've watched some highlights from Duke. I can't really get into watching the whole game for them. Of course, they got Boozer. That Arizona BYU. I was excited for that one. Arizona kind of pulled away, and then just the crazy last 3 minutes where I would say the refs kind of let BYU get to almost winning the game, and they kind of blew that last shot. So Arizona survived. But tomorrow, oh my. Nebraska at Michigan. Michigan's favored by 10.5. So that'll definitely be exciting to see. Of course, Michigan's at home. Again, I mean, I thought Illinois was going to beat them. Of course, Michigan plays a little bit better defense. I would say Illinois has better shooters. Well, I would take Nebraska in the points. I can't see them laying an egg here. They can lose, but I do not see them losing by more than 10.5. And then the total is over under 155. It opened at 153, so people took the over. Again, I think Nebraska's going to slow this game down. They shoot threes as well. Um, as an Illini fan, I think I want Michigan to win this because then that might rattle Nebraska. I feel like they're riding high right now because they got that goose egg. So that'll be a big one on Tuesday. Let's see. And then the Wednesday, nothing. Thursday, Illinois hosts Washington. Again, we gotta watch for that. Make sure Illinois does not let down. They are favored. There's no spread now. Washington, last year, remember, KJ hit a big shot at the end. Of course, Washington's got a different team this year as well, just like Illinois, kind of, sort of. I think Illinois goes back to playing a little better um, defense, if you can say they do that, or if it's just, you know, a lot of people are saying it's just their size. But then Friday, Michigan State. Oh. So if Michigan beats Nebraska, now they go to MSU and they might drop this one. MSU, obviously Michigan's way more talented. ESPN has it 53% chance of Michigan winning, 47. Michigan State at home. I don't see how Michigan State wins this. Other than Michigan, I mean, Michigan State doesn't really hit threes. I don't see how they win this. We kind of, as an Illini fan, you need Michigan State to win this one. And then Saturday. Wait, is it Saturday? Oh, I'm sorry. I think it's Sunday. Let's see Saturday slate. BYU, Kansas. If you're, if that does anything for you. I'm more of a Big Ten guy. But then Sunday, Illinois, Nebraska. ESPN, 53% Nebraska, which is fair because they're at home. Illinois, 47. This will be interesting. Nebraska could be coming in, lose, losing to Michigan, but then that's it, right? Yeah, so they could, again, if Michigan can win the home game, which they should, what does that do to Nebraska? You're no longer undefeated. I feel like that momentum can kind of keep, it's like the whole Bears had the magical season until it came to the end. Uh, I mean, obviously, you would think, right? We just had Purdue come in after a loss, and everyone doubted Illinois. Everyone doubted Illinois, which is understandable. So I think the same thing would happen here. And what does Keaton do for an encore? Again, they already beat him, so I think, and of course that's the game that kind of Keaton had the late turnover. Um, Again, we need Keaton to be that guy that not just leads, and of course we know he does the right play. We need him to be the guy that I'm gonna make sure we don't lose this game. I'm gonna do my best. That's what we need Keenan to do. If he could score 40, great. But we're not looking for that. We just need him to kind of control everyone, keep everyone in line, and let the shooter shoot. So yeah, I'm gonna say Illinois needs that one against Nebraska. So let's summarize it. Keene goes off for 46, and we needed every one of those. At the end, everyone hit the clutch threes. Uh, what a game that was, and that keeps the season going, and hopefully Illinois just keeps pushing forward, and Keaton hopefully leads us with the mentality of we're not gonna lose this game. Till the next one.